Good evening, everyone. On my bench tonight, I've got something super easy and simple. You've got an old GameCube controller here. There's really nothing wrong with this. I've already tested it on my computer using a GameCube to USB adapter, open up the controller tester. All the buttons work, no problem. Analog sticks work, no problem. There's no real, they're not really loose or anything. There's no stick drift or anything like that. And the R and L buttons work fine. So there's nothing wrong with this. But there is something wrong with it cosmetically. As you can see, this analog stick has lost all of its rubber. It's just pure plastic. This one over here is looking pretty crusty, as well as if we zoom down in on this, you can see that the crease between where the two parts come together is also looking pretty crusty. To give you a better demonstration on that, I'll just do a little scrape right there, and you can see some of the brownish gunk coming through. That is sweat and skin cells and dirt, and it's just pretty disgusting. So what we're gonna do today is, this isn't really a fix kind of video, this is more just a restore, I guess. So just to get into it, there's 6 screws on the back. It uses this Y-shaped bit. This one says 2.5, Y 2.5. So we'll just take out all the screws here. This is not too hard, and these analog sticks replacements I've got right here, the yellow is a little bit off. You can see it side by side there. The older one is slightly darker, the newer one is much more bright, but the left analog stick is pretty well spot on. This is pretty good. So let's just crack this open, take out all these screws, and take this apart. Oh yeah, last screw out. That's probably the hardest part when it comes to this entire thing. This back piece is gonna lift right up, just like that, as you can see on the inside. And then here's the little circuit board. The right analog stick is on its own little daughter board connected with a connector. You don't need to unhook this or anything like that. I'm gonna take the Z button off first, put that off the side. Just grab the PCB and slightly lift up and wiggle it out. There we go. That gives us access to everything we really need to. Here's all the buttons and contacts. Here are the old potentiometer or thumb caps, which these pop right off, super easy. What you'll notice on both of these, let me zoom back down in. What you'll notice on both of them is they're keyed. You can see a little notch towards the top of the analog stick. So what we've got to do is line up the notch of the new cap. It just pops right on, but I'm not going to put this on completely yet, just show you that it goes on. Just slides right on just like that, because this looks pretty dang crusty. This one over here as well, it's pretty dang crusty. I'm going to cut over to my sink. I'm going to give the plastic pieces and the circuit board a nice little scrub-a-dub-dub, and then we'll come back to really just putting it back together. So give me 1 second. All cleaned up, we should be ready to go ahead and put it back together, is what you'd think. But what I've found with these aftermarket analog cap, thumbstick covers, whatever you want to call them, is the cavity that the analog stick actually goes into. Analog stick. You heard that right. The hole the stick actually goes into is a little bit deeper than the original cap. So when that goes on the analog stick and actually goes in the case, the bottom parts of the thumbstick, which is still rubberized, fouls against the shell of the of the controller, and so it causes it to grip against it. Let me just show you what I mean. So I'll put this on there live on camera right now. All right, so that's on. Let me just put this out of the way, run the motor, and then we'll put it on the controller slightly back together. You can probably hear my phone going off in the background. So when we get it in, well, this one actually fits in there quite nicely. Oh, it's probably not in all the way. There we go. So yeah, push it down all the way, and you can kind of hear, let's see if I can get close. It doesn't really click, roll against that plastic like it should. It's kind of soft, and it shouldn't be. The rubber is definitely touching the plastic around here just a little bit. So I found the best way to do, the best thing to do for this is just to make it a little bit taller. An easy way to do this is UV curing glue. So this is Loca, whatever you want to call it. I'm just gonna add a slight drop of this to the top. It only needs to be like 1 millimeter-ish thick. That'll just make it slightly taller, just enough so that it clears the plastic of the shell. You may not be able to see this. Let me change camera angles and I'll show you the other one. That way my hand and face is not in the way. All right, so you can see it there, just slightly over the top. It might be just a smidge too little, so I'm just gonna dab a little bit more on there. Oops. Little tweezers in there, just to help get it down on there. Now we're just gonna go ever so slightly. There we go. That's almost a millimeter-ish, half a millimeter, 3/4 of a millimeter, whatever you want to go with. There's still one more to do over here, so we'll do the same thing. Just slightly, add just a little bit. Cool, so that's that. Let me put the cap on this so it doesn't leak everywhere. I don't know where the cap went. It's probably under something. Oops, bumped the camera. I'll worry about that later. How about that? And then I'll get my little UV light here. Just gonna let that sit. Okay, that glue doesn't take too long to set. I just set it for about a minute. Leave the light on it while I go do things or play around behind me. Just putting the motor back in place because for some reason it loves to slide out. So let's get these thumb caps on there. I'm gonna bring you up actually. Up. One more of a downward view. Much better. Ah, it fell out again. This motor, little poop face. All right, thumb caps on. The C stick is pretty easy. When it's positioned correctly, it'll say a C. There's also the little grooves on the inside. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky getting in if you add too much of that Loca. Yep, Loca curing glue, the UV curing glue. I cannot speak tonight. But I think I've got the perfect amount on here. If you don't have the glue, with something else that I found that works pretty darn well too is just grab some blue tack. As bad as it may sound, blue tack works really well. Ooh, dang it, I just realized I left the start button back on my little towel for drying. Okay, a little bit unprofessional, not completely prepared, but I mean, in my defense, it's a really small grayish button and I left it on a white towel in front of a fan to help things dry a little faster. Blue tack, as I was saying though, is super cheap. You can buy it in your office supplies aisle at your Walmart, I think Dollar General too. I left the membrane in there as well. Well, I'll come to that last. You can put it in there. If you put enough down in the actual analog stick. It'll help pad it out just a little bit. And even if you got someone who loves raging, if they rage hard on their GameCube controllers, oh, you can't even see me, I'm sorry. Raging hard on the GameCube controllers, they push down really, really hard. That's Blue Tack has a little bit of give, and eventually it won't even be able to push up along the cavity of the analog stick, so it'll just stay in there perfectly fine. It also means like it's kind of a little harder to pull off if you're ready to replace your analog sticks in the future. I've done dozens of these GameCube controllers, and some of them have been put in my collection to use. Like I've played Smash Bros. Tournaments with them. I haven't had any issues with them. They're still holding up even after a few years of gaming. I'm on the last thing already. Let me go run back to my room, my living room, and grab the membrane for the start button. So, 1 second again. I looked around for it, but I could not find it. So, fortunately, or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, there's controllers that I haven't been able to fix in the past, and I have spares. So I have this one from my stash. Just put this back in there, and then grab the motherboard. Slide that on, and of course the rumble motor fell out again. Goes on super easy, pops right back in, and then make sure you set your little potentiometers, these things. You can see a little slider right there. Make sure it's all the way up, because that is the starting position of your L&R buttons. And then you're just going to rotate the little strain relief, the cable right here. It goes on this post right towards the Z, and then through the hole, just like that. And then when you pop this back on, everything should line up nice and easy. It should be nice and easy. It's not being nice and easy. It's not being nice to me. Oh, that's because of the C-stick was slightly rotated off kilter. There we go. Goes back on nice and easy. Oh, come on. It's getting stuck on something. Hold on. I have the remote the wrong way. I'm an idiot. And now it's gonna go on nice and easy. There. And let's look at the analog sticks. You can hear the click. It's exactly how it should be when it rolls across there. All right, this is pretty easy. I'm just gonna speed through, but put all the screws back together, and then we'll just do a little closing shot. They see how sexy it looks, all cleaned up. Cool, and there it is, all cleaned up, looking nice and good. You can see there's no dirt grime. The sides are looking nice and clean. Analog sticks are both working pretty well, and the L&R buttons are just fine. So I'm gonna close out of here. Hopefully it's a shorter video than normal. And hopefully you all enjoyed it. It was a nice, easy, quote unquote, repair, restoration really. Analog caps, you can buy these off of eBay, Amazon, AliExpress, only a couple bucks. For a couple bucks more, you can probably get like 10 sets or something off AliExpress. It just takes a while to get here. But the reason why I'm doing this is because my next video should be a GameCube. I'm gonna show you how to solder in a Xeno GC mod chip. A nice and easy way to do it. A lot of people like to run wires to the pads. I'm going to show you don't need to do that. Even if you're kind of an inexperienced hobbyist and you're not very good at soldering, it's not as difficult as you think it is. All you really need is an X-Acto knife. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to close it out here. Hopefully you all have a great rest of your day. It's almost Christmas time when I'm posting this, 22nd-ish, I think. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year whenever I post the next video. Whatever tradition you all celebrate, take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Good night.